Tuesday, the 2nd of June, 1925. 101 years ago, Yankee Stadium. A thin crowd, barely 6,000 souls, scattered through that great gray horseshoe, turned out for an ordinary midweek ball game between the New York Yankees and the Washington Senators. Day game on grass. 2 hours start to finish. Nobody in those stands had the faintest notion that they were watching the first page of one of the longest, most faithful stories this game would ever tell. These were not yet the Yankees of legend. That spring they were a tired, floundering ball club, 16-26, buried in the standings and looking for any spark at all. And on this afternoon, the first baseman, Wally Pipp, stepped aside. The story that's been handed down for 100 years says Pipp had a pounding headache and asked out of the lineup. Whatever the true reason, manager Miller Huggins reached down the bench and penciled in a broad-shouldered 21-year-old kid out of Columbia University. Born in Manhattan to German immigrant parents, his name was Henry Louis Gehrig. Now, Lou had pinch hit the day before, a quiet little appearance most folks forgot before they reached the trolley home. But June the 2nd was the day he first took the field at first base and played the whole 9 innings. And here's the thing you must understand. He was not the headline. He was not the hero. He was just a young man filling a hole in a slumping lineup. He did his work, mind you, 3 hits and 5 at-bats, a pair of singles and a sharp double off Alan Russell that skipped through the hole between short and second. He crossed the plate once, back in the second inning when Benny Bengo singled him home. A solid day, an honest day. But if you'd opened the newspaper the next morning, you wouldn't have lingered on Lou Gehrig's name. No, that afternoon belonged to Bob Musial, who launched 2 home runs. The second, an inside-the-park blast in the 8th that broke a 5-all tie wide open and carried the Yankees home 8-5. Benny Bengo had 3 hits himself. Gehrig's quiet line sat buried in the box score, unremarkable, easy to miss. And that's the wonder of it, friends. History almost never announces itself. It doesn't ring a bell or fire a cannon. It slips in through a side door on a sleepy Tuesday with 6,000 people half watching. Because from that day forward, from that 2nd of June, 1925, Lou Gehrig did not miss a ball game. Not the next day, not the next month, not the next season, nor the one after that. Through broken fingers and aching backs, through fever and fatigue, through 14 summers, he answered the bell. 2,130 consecutive games. They called him the Iron Horse, and the name fit like a glove, a record so towering that men assumed it would stand forever, until a shortstop named Cal Ripken Jr. finally passed it 70 years later and ran his own streak all the way to 2,632. But hold that date in your mind, the 2nd of June, because the calendar has a cruel and beautiful symmetry, and it saved its hardest turn for this man. 16 years later, to the very day, the 2nd of June, 1941, by then the streak was over. It had ended 2 springs before on a quiet afternoon in Detroit when the Iron Horse took himself out of the lineup because his body would no longer obey him. A disease had crept in and stolen the strength from those famous arms. ALS. On that June evening, in a quiet house up in the Bronx, Lou Gehrig passed away. He was 37 years old. From that day on, all across this country, folks gave the illness a gentler, more familiar name. They called it Lou Gehrig's disease, and they still do. Think on it. The very date he slipped quietly into the lineup as a nameless kid, the 2nd of June, was the same date the game said goodbye to him 16 years on. The beginning and end bound together on a single square of the calendar. That's the kind of story that keeps me coming back to this old game. So tip your cap to the Iron Horse wherever you are tonight. This has been Dates with Destiny, a Smell Baseball podcast.